Hi, you guys. My name is Salmansa Rogers, and this is another Friday and another True Crime Stories with Sal. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm in the Halloween spirit. It's Halloween weekend, and I figured I'd go down to my local Party City store and get myself a cheap $10 wig and just, wear it for fun for today's story. Yeah, and that's why I don't do long hair. I think it's fun and all cute, but oh, I don't have the patience where the hair is flying all over your face, especially if you have makeup, gloss, and it's just, oh. Anyways, that's another horror story I can tell you guys later about my trip to New York during the winter, and I had extensions. So today's story is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to tell you guys a still unsolved and still to this day open case. And I came across this, I have never heard of it until like a week ago. I came across it and I was just immediately interested. It's a Swedish/American case. Quick disclaimer before we start. This is going to be discussion of abuse of a corpse, dismemberment of a corpse, and murder. Without further ado, let's jump into today's story. The case we are discussing today is of Karina Holmer, 20-year-old Karina Holmer from Jönköping in Sweden. She got brutally murdered in 1996, so 25 years ago, in Boston, Massachusetts, here in the United States. Karina Holmer was described as a very active, very outdoorsy, energetic, loving type of woman. She was also part of the Swedish Scout group. In Sweden, we don't have like a boy or girl scout. It's all boys and girls together. And she literally her dream was to travel the world. She wanted to see different places, experience different cultures. She wanted to basically explore and see what else is out there besides a little Jönköping in Sweden. I can kind of relate to her because that's exactly the same reason I moved from Sweden to LA, was to discover more and see, what America is all about. And I think for a lot of Swedish girls and guys, I think it's just like in Sweden, America is so glamified and so, beautiful and exotic and exciting, and your dreams come true here. So I think a lot of young people from Sweden is drawn to come to America and experience America by their own, and it's also kind of like a little freedom from home. Like it's finally you moving out, you by yourself, you're independent, you're an adult. So it's exciting, so I can definitely understand and kind of like see what she, like from her perspective and from her excitement of visiting this country. And luck would have it, because Karina actually would win a lottery ticket. And I believe I think she won 10,000 krona. And back in the 90s, 10,000 krona is equal to like $1,500. Immediately after winning that lottery, she knew what she was going to do. This is going to help her fundraise her America trip that she so, longed for so long. I believe also back then, and I think it's 90s and 80s, au pair was very, very popular. Because I know another Swedish person, or like few other Swedish people that came to America in the 90s and 80s. They came like au pairs, and then they stayed here. Either they got married or, start working as something else or went to school. But like I think coming as an au pair was a very easy back then. And for those that doesn't know what a pair is, it's a French word basically meaning a nanny. So coming to a new country requires a lot of paperwork process. It's not just buying a ticket and you're here. You have to, especially if you're deciding to work in that country, you have to be legal. You have to have some form of social security, work status, so, go through this process, especially as an au pair. You have to go through a medical health process, also, background check, both for you and for the family you're going to stay at. And this is definitely a must. So it's more easier, and of course a security for you as an au pair coming to a new country, and for the people that take you in to know who you are and what type of person they going to leave with their kids. But you see, Karina didn't file any legal papers before coming to America. She actually went through this illegal services that would help young Swedish girls to get into America quick and easy without the hustle and bustle of paperwork. You just paid them a amount of money, I don't know exactly how much, and they help you basically found your trip. And that's exactly what Karina did. This also illegal firm has been shut down by the authorities multiple times, but still was operating back in 1996. So this illegal Swedish au pair firm found Karina a home in Boston, Massachusetts. In March of 1996, Karina flew to Boston, Massachusetts to work for a couple called Frank and Susan and their 2 children. Both Frank and Susan were a very well-off, rich, if you want to call it that, family that lived in a great area of Boston, a very rich and prestige area. And both of them were artists. And Frank, the husband and the father of the 2 children, he also owned a loft in, I believe, downtown Boston. This loft were actually, they were allowing Karina to use it on the weekends. So if she, wanted to just have her own little time and enjoy Boston and maybe go out and have some friends over, she could use the loft when she was off on the weekends. That's exactly what Karina did. Is she, settled down. She worked for the family Monday to Friday, took care of the kids, was also taking care of some house chores. And then on Friday night through Monday morning, she would stay at this loft and do her own thing, have her friends over or go, explore Boston by herself or with friends or go out and what have you. A few months into her working as this au pair, particularly in May, she would be mailing back and forth and calling her family, of course, and friends back in Sweden. So they kept constant contact with Karina. But to her family, she would tell that everything is good and, she has fun, she's enjoying Boston. But especially to one of her best friends, Ulrika, she would tell it as is. And it was in one particular letter that she wrote to Ulrika in May, stating that something, quote, bad has happened, and but she cannot tell her on letter. She wants to tell her in person, and she would definitely tell her when she comes back home to Sweden. And it looked like Karina was also complaining to her friends that the job requirements that she had was involving a lot of cleaning, and she was not expecting that much cleaning. And I'm guessing this rich family had a pretty good size of a house, so probably, they maybe used her not just as a nanny, but also as a cleaning lady, I guess. But basically, she was not happy with the chores that the family were expecting of Karina. This brings us now to June 23rd, the last day that Karina, unfortunately, will be seen alive. This June 23rd was a particular special day because it was a midsummer. For those of you that don't know, in Sweden, midsummer or midsommar is a huge tradition. People are celebrating, either going out to clubs or celebrating, like dancing around this pole. You've probably seen it. It's like a green pole and has like round things, I don't know what it's called, but hanging. But if you Google Swedish midsummer or seen that horror movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. So for a lot of Swedish people still to this day that live in the United States, they celebrate, I don't unfortunately, but for other Swedish people that live in the United States, they celebrate Midsommar. And that's exactly what Karina and her friends did on June 23rd, 1996. Another thing that I forgot to mention is Karina was not alone, like the only au pair. She actually was hanging out with this group of other Swedish au pair girls that was living in Boston. They were known as this Scandinavian nannies, or Swedish nannies in Boston. So they were kind of like a group of Swedish girls that always hang out together and went clubbing together. Another important detail to point out is on that particular day, Karina was wearing a very shining or very a unique outfit. She was wearing this silver glittery pants with a matching silver glittery sweater and a black t-shirt. So she was standing out in the crowd. You could definitely see her, and this comes in importance later in the case because a lot of so-called eyewitnesses claim have seen her because of this outfit. Karina was using a fake ID to get into various clubs because at that time she was only 20. So in order to be able to go into clubs and party, you have to be 21. So she basically had her made or got herself a fake ID. During the night, Karina became extremely, and I'm talking extremely intoxicated. And as a 20-year-old, I can vouch, been there, done that, know exactly, you're out there, you're having fun, you don't think of anything, you're just drinking, you're celebrating, and I can, we all been there, like as a 20, maybe even in your 30s, crazy drunk, like till the point where you basically pass out. That's exactly what happened. So a few people saw Karina passing out in the ladies' restroom. One of the bartender that was serving Karina and her group, he noticed that she was way out of, she was done for tonight, like no more drinks for her. So he started to serving her water. By the end of the night, Karina is completely drunk, barely standing, and she has lost her friends at this point. And also another thing to kind of know is that when they were later interviewing eyewitnesses or what have you, they would tell that even though this particular group of people that Karina came with, even though that they partied together every weekend or what have you, or when they partied, they all went together, but they were not glued to each other at the club. So once they arrived at the club, like one person went there, another person started talking to some other person, and so they were kind of spread out. So it's just because they came in together in a club, they wouldn't necessarily be together the whole night. So between 2 and 3 a.m., Karina found herself outside the club without her friends, and at one point she tried to get back into the club, and the bouncers just stopped her and told her, "Sorry, we're closed, or we're closing. You're already out. You can't get in." And that's my personal opinion. Is a big, they should have at least, I feel like, especially if you're a woman, they see that she's drunk, she's alone. I don't even know if she had her purse or her belongings with her. I don't know the details of that, but they should have either let her in together with one of the bouncers so they can go together and find her friends and be like, "Hey, you need to take care of your friends. She is in bad shape," or tell her describe your friends, I go and look for him. Not just push her out on the street by herself, completely drunk. And I feel like as a bouncer, you have some sort of responsibility, or at least have a human heart, and just kind of see the situation, and if it's not looking good, then help the person out. Because of Karina's state and of course her unique outfit that night, a lot of witnesses saw her in various different places. One person saw her in the alley shortly after the club closed around 3 a.m. dancing with a homeless guy. They were singing and dancing. They looked like they're having fun. Another person who was male that was also I think he or came together with the group or knew of the group saw Karina going in unknown vehicle. He didn't recognize the people, especially the two guys in the car, and he tried to, get Karina out of there, and the guy kind of like threatened him to get out of there or he rip his head off. Um, and then it was one guy also that was a known, I don't know, quote unquote, weird guy. He always used to bring his dog, and he and his dog were dressed the same. So particularly that night, they both was wearing this Superman T-shirt. So the dog was wearing a T-shirt, a Superman, and the owner was wearing a T-shirt. And this was his way of kind of like flirting or start a conversation with women. So that was the known sights of Karina. So dancing with the homeless guy in the alley, going into a unknown vehicle with unknown men, and talking to this man and his dog that was wearing the Superman T-shirt. Since this was a Friday night, the next day, Saturday, came. No one have heard from Karina, but no one was like worried or suspecting it foul play or anything dangerous, because this was typical. Saturdays were mostly when you kind of like get over a hangover, you wake up, super late, you're just in bed the whole day, maybe vomiting. I mean, been there, done that, know exactly that feeling. So, and also her au pair family didn't worry about her because she didn't have to work. That was her weekend off. Weekends she was off, and they were not expecting her until Monday morning. On Sunday afternoon, a homeless man, unknown homeless man, was roaming around the streets, and he came across this trash container, and he started, digging in there, see if it was any bottles or any scraps or any, food or items, valuable items that someone thrown. And he came across this black trash bag, and it was pretty heavy. It felt like it was like a 40-50 pound of a trash bag. So he was curious of what was in there. So he started to kind of like tear it apart, make a little hole to open it up to see what was in there that was that heavy. And immediately as it opened up the bag, a human arm came out. And it was a human arm of a female, because he could clearly see the nail polish on the fingers. He screamed and just ran the street, and he came across a police officer, and he told him that, "I think I found a dead body in a trash bin." The policeman immediately called for backup, and soon they secured the whole area where the trash bin was located at. They took out the whole trash bag, and they found a human upper torso. They couldn't find any bottom parts, so no legs, no feet, nothing. Police, since they couldn't identify this body didn't have any clothes on, didn't have any ID or anything. They went out to public and basically did this vague description of a blonde 20-year-old girl that been found in the dumpster. And as soon as Karina's au pair family heard this the next day, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, and she hasn't come into work, they don't know where she's at, they called the police and said that we have an au pair from Sweden that works for us, and the description that you guys gave, it might be her. It turned out that it was, in fact, the 20-year-old Karina Holmer. The way her body was found was a very interesting fact for me. I feel like this kill is definitely something personal, because not only was the body cut clean, it looked like someone, like a professional or someone that knows how to cut up a body in half, or where to cut to avoid as much bone as possible, because the cut was very neat and precise. Not only that, her body was washed, so her face was clean. It was no makeup or anything. It looked like someone took their time to dispose of her body. And I feel like washing the face and all of that, it feels like it's a little bit personal. Someone knew Karina Holmer. Her cause of death was ruled as strangulation. They found strangulation marks on her throat. So now I'm going to go into the suspects. And of course, the number one suspect was first and foremost the family. The au pair family that not only, was her employees, but also like a family in for Karina where she stayed at. But as soon as the body was identified, the family lawyered up. So they were uncooperative. They didn't want to speak to police or any detectives unless, or like by themselves. If they spoke, it was through their lawyers. And I feel like, it's very sus, very suspicious. But the other hand, I kind of understand because they have this illegal immigrant from Sweden that works for them illegally, and now she's dead. So it is a little bit suspicious, and I totally understand that they hired a lawyer, but at the same time, okay, good, hire a lawyer, but you could still be cooperative. And I don't know specifically, I couldn't find details. The place where Karina stayed at, the loft, and of course her workplace at the family home. I don't think they ever searched that place because, again, the family was not cooperative. They lawyered up. They basically didn't want to have anything to do with this. The second suspect that I wanted to discuss was the guy, I think his name was Hubert, the one with the Superman t-shirt and the dog that was wearing the matching Superman t-shirt. So this guy lives approximately 30 to 45 minutes away from downtown Boston, where the club area. So he would literally do this this was his normal thing. So every weekend he would dress up himself and dress up the dog in the matching outfit and go out, drive 45, 30 minutes out from his home to the club area to pick up women or talk to women. So, that night he was actually stopped by the police and got a speeding ticket because he was speeding back home, we're assuming, at the 3 a.m. And that was kind of like his alibi that he got a speeding ticket. But then when you get a speeding ticket, it's not like the cops search your vehicle. They don't search your trunk. So, you get stopped, pulled over, you get a speeding ticket, and you continue back wherever you're going to. So we don't know, first of all, why was he speeding at 3 a.m., at home? What was what was the rush to go home, when you clearly drive out 45 minutes, 35 minutes every Friday night or every Saturday night to do this kind of thing, and now all of a sudden you have to speed back home? A little suspicious. And we don't know what if Karina was in his car. She maybe was passed out, or he hit her, so she, passed out, and she was in her car in the trunk. You never know, because again, his car would never search. But unfortunately, this man would eventually take his own life a few months after. So if he is the perpetrator, we would never come to find, because he took his own life. A third suspect that I'm going to discuss is a boyfriend, or I say boyfriend loosely. I don't know if it felt like it was someone Karina was seeing, basically. It didn't seem like it was super serious, but it was a Boston police officer that Karina was seeing. But basically the officer were cleared right away. They just announced he has nothing to do with it. He has an alibi. He's good. But one thing to know, a little side note, back in the 90s, Boston police was very, very corrupt. I'm not saying that they had something to do with it, but it's just something to kind of like have that in mind. And that and also we don't know the name of the policeman. We don't know his age. We don't know his face. We don't know his name. Nothing about him. We just know it was a police officer that she was dating. And they basically didn't look into him at all. They just cleared him right off the bat. He's good. He had an alibi. He had nothing to do with that. Final fourth suspect that was also looked into, but then eventually they dropped him as well from the suspect list, was a well-known local artist. He was kind of like a punk rock type of metal band type of artist, little goth. He was also known to do drugs, heavy drugs, like cocaine or what have you. And he was into, the occult, demons, devil worshiper. He was all over. He was in the police's eye. He was a weirdo, and he was someone to look into. Also because he lived very, very close to the dumpster that Karina was found. Half of her dead body was found in. So that was also the main reason that why they looked into this artist. But again, he was cleared. That's basically where this case is at. All of the well-known or the major suspect, the four major suspect, according to police, have been looked into and eventually dropped. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that a few days, or actually like I think Monday or Tuesday, that day when Karina's body was found on a Sunday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, between those days, another dumpster close to Karina's au pair family home was suddenly on fire. Someone called in like, hey, it's a dumpster on fire, you better send the fire department here. The fire department came, they took down the fire, but they couldn't find anything like any body parts or anything belonging to Karina. But again, maybe they didn't find body parts, but you never know. Like maybe some of Karina's belongings were burned because, fire can't, first of all, we don't know how long the fire was going on for. And, I feel like a fire can easily destroy like small item as a card or wallet or whatever, like clothes, definitely. A few of the au pair ladies that had been working for the same family that Karina worked for, they've been saying that the dad of the family, gave out some creepy vibes. He was a little bit too much of a touchy-feely, a little bit too flirtatious even. So it circles back to the family again, where Karina was, living with or working for. Again, it's, a lot of, speculations. Some people even speculate that this horrible thing that happened that Karina wrote to her friend Ulrika back in Sweden, that they speculate that Karina might have been pregnant, and that the dad was the father in the family, and then maybe they had some secret relationship because again she was staying at the loft over the weekends. He had the key, he could easily just get in there and like either force himself upon her, or they had a secret relationship. And it also speculates that because they found her body cut in half, maybe it was so because she was pregnant with his child and he tried to get rid of it, dispose of it, so his wife doesn't find out, the media doesn't find out, and that the people don't point fingers towards him. But again, this is all speculations, of course. The family, like I said in the beginning, they lawyered up pretty quickly, so it's impossible for us to know exactly if it was something between Karina and the family or not. In my personal opinion, I feel like, again, like I said in the beginning, this kill or this murder felt like it was something personal. So if I play with the thought that I would say the dad had an affair with Karina, right? They had an affair, or he, forced himself on her and she became pregnant. Like I'm thinking maybe she came home drunk, came back to the loft drunk that night, and he was there waiting for her, or like maybe this was something that they had, like a rendezvous. He always would be there at nights, and they hook up. And then maybe a drunken stage, she was just like, how you when you're drunk, you basically tell the truth, or like you're more bold, and she maybe just be like, I'm done with you, I'm done with this, I'm gonna tell your wife I'm pregnant, whatever, and then maybe in the heat of an argument he strangled her, and then like shit, and she died, and then he would maybe like, oh my god, I just killed her, and knowing that she is pregnant, like, oh my god, I need to get rid of the baby, the evidence, because if they do autopsy on her, they find out she's pregnant, they do a DNA test, and I'm the dad, damn, so maybe that's, he cut her half and then dispose of the half of the body to dispose of the baby, and then just, dumped her other top half in the trash. But again, this is just me, my personal opinion, my speculation, my 2 cents in it. Who am I again? No one. I'm just a YouTuber that watched too much true crime. So, take it with a grain of salt. I'm just, giving my little personal view on this. But again, this case is still going on. This case is still unsolved. The sad part is that Karina's family has been living with this for 25 years. Karina's body was shipped back to Sweden, and they had a funeral. The family arranged a funeral that everyone would be dressed in colorful clothing to, honor her colorful rainbow personality, as they call it. They didn't want to have like a traditional black, mourning color. They want to have bright colors to celebrate Karina's life. Quick quote that I felt was like such a heartbreaking when I read this. It was when the detective basically told Karina's father that they're gonna ship Karina back to them. He asked the police detective, like, "What am I getting?" And the detective was just like, "Oh my God." His heart just sank, and he's like, "Well, you're getting her upper body, you're getting her beautiful face." Fortunately, this is where we're at in this case so far. So I'm gonna leave some information in the description box. So if to police and detectives in Boston or Crime Stoppers, if you have any information, or if you know anyone that lived in the 90s in Boston, or know of this case, any information, small or big or medium, anything can help. The quicker they can solve this, the easier and the better for the family. I can't imagine, again, the pain and the shock and the horror that Karina's poor family has been going through and still going through 25 years after, not knowing who did this to their loving daughter, sister, friend. So yeah, with that all being said, my loves, if you do leave a comment, please stay, positive and respectful. You never know. Like I said, if you would not tell this or say this to your grandma, don't put it in writing in a comment. This is someone's family, someone's loved one, so please be respectful. I want everyone to please stay safe. It's Halloween weekend. If you are about to party and go out, have fun with your friends, stay safe, drink responsibly. If you have a friend or you or someone that is a little bit too drunk, please make sure you find your people, and please make sure you don't leave your friend just hanging out there by themselves with any stranger or themselves on the street. Take care of each other, okay, my darlings? Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out. And again, I appreciate you guys so much for watching my videos, for leaving nice comments. If you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, description box to a link to my other social media platforms. Okay, my loves, I'm gonna go and have a horror movie marathon right now. So I hope I see you guys next Friday. Ciao, cacao.